Super Bowl, they're, for the first time in, I think, 4 years now, the Trump administration is making them take away "end racism," which they had written in the end zone, right? And when
why? It just seems silly. I mean,
to do it or not to do it?
Why get rid of it?
Oh, I could tell you why.
I know, but it's just like you're
because it was stupid to begin with.
Yeah, but
let me ask you, who's it for? And if you're a racist and you see "end racism" in the end zone, you're going to stop being a racist?
But the sentiment is basically like, don't be an asshole.
But I think it's an asshole to nag us during a football game about something that doesn't change anything or any. If I'm not a racist and I see it, it doesn't matter. And if I am a racist, it's going to make me more of a racist.
Like, I think if you write "don't be an asshole" in the end zone, everybody will agree with that.
The problem is, we all think the other guy's an asshole.
And no one thinks.
I saw the Government Accounting Office, that's not the Trump administration, said in the last 20 years, I think it was something like 2.2
It's $3 trillion.
Well, it was a little less than that, but in trillions of improper payments.
Yes.
This is trillions, not billions. What could we have done with that money? In 2023, it was 236 billion of improper payment. So it's not like this does not have to be done. They couldn't put dwarfs because this is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive.
These days, Bill Maher sounds less like a liberal talk show host and more like a surprise Trump defender. Yep, the same guy who spent years roasting Republicans is now setting his sights on the left. But here's the twist. He's not blindly backing Trump. He's torching the media for their nonstop, unhinged obsession with taking him down. He's calling out the hypocrisy, the selective outrage, and the censorship. So the question is, does that make Maher a secret MAGA fan, or just one of the last honest voices on the left? Listen for yourself and decide.
College kids are doing that we're excusing because they don't know what they're talking about, as if a Yale education isn't better than whatever's happening for these tiki torch IT guys who are in Charlottesville.
Bill Maher doesn't hold back, slams the left and woke media over silence on rising campus antisemitism. Bill Maher came out swinging in a recent segment, delivering a scathing takedown of the left and what he described as the woke media for their troubling silence on the surge of antisemitism erupting across college campuses. While some extreme chants, like the alleged death to the Jews at Yale, haven't been verified, Maher pointed to serious incidents elsewhere. At Northeastern University, tensions flared when a pro-Israel counter-protester shouted, "Kill the Jews," a shocking moment that resulted in the arrest of more than 100 peaceful demonstrators. Maher also zeroed in on a rally in Dearborn, Michigan, where "Death to America" chants echoed through the crowd. Rhetoric, he says, has gone far beyond acceptable discourse, taking aim at prestigious universities like Harvard and the University of Pennsylvania. Maher criticized their muted reactions to anti-Semitic incidents, accusing them of sheltering useful idiots and enabling extremist ideologies. His message was blunt. Silence in the face of hate, no matter where it comes from, is moral failure. In an era where partisanship often clouds principle, Maher is calling on his own side to take a stand. For him, confronting bigotry isn't optional. It's essential.
Now that the campus protesters are finally packing up their tents and delousing their hair, it's time for the media to admit that they blew the whole thing way out of proportion. Because as always with media these days, they don't cover what's most important, just what's most fun to watch.
Bill Maher unleashes on legacy media, professional panic merchants, obsessed with manufactured drama. Bill Maher is locked, loaded, and ready to eviscerate the legacy media, and he's not holding back. In his latest rant, Maher torches the press for transforming into what he calls professional panic merchants, spinning every offhand Trump remark into a full-blown national emergency. Take Trump's half-joking tease about a third term. Instead of brushing it off with an eye roll, the media goes into meltdown mode, sounding the alarms, declaring the death of democracy, and slapping the fascist label on him with record speed. Before long, he's not just the bombastic former president. He's suddenly the reincarnation of Hitler, the destroyer of the republic, and the centerpiece of every overwrought panel discussion on cable news. Meanwhile, real issues, like the economy, rising grocery prices, and job security, are buried beneath layers of theatrical outrage. And Maher's had enough. He's ready to torch the media's obsession with outrage for clicks, and when he does, it won't be pretty.
There are 15.2 million college students in the U.S., and 2,300 have been arrested. That's 1/67th of 1%, and half of the ones in New York weren't even students. But we were given the false impression that these protesters are the voice of their generation, having found a cause for which they were willing to go to the tents and to the barricades. Oh, please, these kids are more violent when their team wins a championship. A Harvard youth poll proved it. They asked people 18 to 29 what issues mattered most to them, and out of 16 choices, Palestine came in 15. The vast majority just want to do what they went to college for in the first place, to experiment with being a lesbian.
Bill Maher exposes media hype machine. Drama over data, spectacle over substance. Bill Maher isn't just calling out the media. He's bringing the receipts. With laser focus, he takes aim at the usual suspects, MSNBC, CNN, and what he dubs the outrage industrial complex. His case study? The breathless, wall-to-wall coverage of college campus protests over the Israel-Palestine conflict. According to the media narrative, students across the country were storming quads, waving flags, and obsessing over foreign policy. Maher calls nonsense. In reality, most students weren't glued to Al Jazeera or drafting manifestos. They were worried about midterms, student loans, rent, and whether they could stretch their last $20 into a week's worth of raiment. Maher argues the media is playing an old game. Take a loud, visible minority, amplify their voices until it feels like a national uprising, and then act bewildered when the public tunes out. It's not journalism, it's theater. A constant loop of spectacle drowning out substance. And Maher? He's over it. Watch how he scorches Tara Palmieri for peddling this kind of performative outrage on her show. He's not just pushing back, he's pulling the curtain all the way down.
Super Bowl, there, for the first time in, I think, 4 years now, the Trump administration is making them take away "end racism," which they had written in the end zone, right? And when
But why? It just seems silly. I mean,
to do it or not to do it?
why get rid of it?
Oh, I could tell you why.
I know, but it's just like you're
Because it was stupid to begin with.
yeah, but it's
Let me ask you, who is it for? And if you're a racist and you see "end racism" in the end zone, you're going to stop being a racist?
the sentiment is basically like, don't be an asshole.
But I think it's an asshole to nag us during a football game about something that doesn't change anything or any. If I'm not a racist and I see it, it doesn't matter. And if I am a racist, it's going to make me more of a racist.
Like, I think if you write "don't be an asshole" in the end zone, everybody will agree with that.
The problem is, we all think the other guy's an asshole.
Bill Maher shreds woke theater. Symbolism without substance is just noise. Bill Maher doesn't stop at skewering the media's love for exaggeration. He takes direct aim at the endless parade of performative wokeness too. And this time, he's swinging hard. On air, Maher openly mocks what he calls the left's favorite pastime, hollow virtue signaling. He calls out the elite's obsession with feel-good gestures that do little to create real change, but look great on TV. And he does it with their biggest supporters watching live. One standout moment? When he torched one of the most cringeworthy displays of woke branding yet. The NFL's "End Racism" slogan painted in the Super Bowl end zones. Maher wasn't buying it. He pointed out the obvious. Spray painting slogans on turf isn't the solution to systemic issues. It's lazy, performative, and borderline insulting to those fighting for actual progress. The studio laughed. Tara Palmieri squirmed, and Maher doubled down, saying what many are thinking. Empty gestures might win applause in the boardroom, but they don't move the needle in the real world. As he put it, symbolism without substance is just noise. And America's had enough of the noise.
I saw the Government Accounting Office, that's not the Trump administration, said in the last 20 years, I think it was something like 2.2
It's $3 trillion.
Well, it was a little less than that, but in trillions of improper payments.
Yes.
This is trillions, not billions. What could we have done with that money? In 2023, it was 236 billion of improper payment. So it's not like this does not have to.
Bill Maher exposes the media's double standard. This isn't journalism. It's cover-up culture. The media's issues go deeper than just sensationalism or performative wokeness. According to Bill Maher, they're now complicit in something far more dangerous, running cover for blatant corruption under President Biden. Maher didn't mince words. He highlighted a staggering figure that should have dominated headlines: $236 billion in improper payments during Biden's administration. That's not a typo. That's billion with a B, taxpayer money lost, misused, or unaccounted for. And yet, near total silence from MSNBC, CNN, and the rest of the alphabet networks. Maher drew a brutal contrast. If Trump had even sneezed near that kind of number, the media would have gone nuclear, rolling out breaking news banners, dramatic intros, and week-long specials. But when it's Biden, nothing. No scrutiny. No outrage. Just crickets. To Maher, this isn't journalism. It's journalistic malpractice. When the press stops holding power accountable and instead plays defense for one political party, democracy doesn't just suffer, it begins to decay. And just when you thought Maher was done, he went even further, calling out the most egregious offense of all, dragging children into the culture war. For him, weaponizing kids for political theater is the ultimate blow, and he's not letting it slide.
Becomes promotion. And contrary to current progressive dogma, children aren't miniature adults wise beyond their years. They're morons. They're gullible morons who'll believe anything and just want to please grown-ups. And they don't have any frame of reference. So they normalize whatever's happening. That's why endlessly talking about gender to 6-year-olds isn't just inappropriate. It's what the law would call entrapment, which means enticing people into doing something they wouldn't ordinarily do. For example, after 9/11, there were several cases of overzealous federal agents leading sad losers into terrorist plots, like the undercover FBI agent who got 7 out-of-work dudes in Liberty City, Florida, to sign on to a plot to bomb the Sears Tower in Chicago.
Bill Maher takes a stand. Let kids be kids. Stop weaponizing childhood. Children are just that, children. They deserve the freedom to grow, to make mistakes, and to explore the world at their own pace, without being weighed down by the complex and divisive issues that adults themselves can barely navigate. But the modern left, alongside their allies in the woke media, won't let them be kids. Instead, they're pushing politics into every facet of childhood, from movies and cartoons to video games and even toys. What was once about imagination, creativity, and play has now been hijacked as a battlefield for ideological indoctrination. The goal isn't just entertainment. It's about planting political flags in young minds before they even have a chance to think for themselves. Bill Maher is sounding the alarm on this calculated effort to rob children of their innocence, all while cloaking it in the name of progress. He argues that real progress doesn't involve dragging kids into culture wars they don't understand. It's about protecting their right to simply be children. Maher's message is clear and unapologetic. Let kids be kids. Leave politics out of the sandbox.
Because this is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive. You'd think the most progressive thing would be get people jobs, and dwarfs want to work.
An honest golden employment opportunity for dwarves.
There's not that many scripts that come down the pike.
No, there's 7 of them.
That has, and there's 7 dwarf jobs here. But because I think it was Peter Dinklage said this is, this is not right. This is demeaning. And they were like, what? We just want to work. We're dwarves. So, ho, ho, ho.
Yeah. Bill Maher blasts Hollywood's woke hypocrisy. A theater of absurdity, Bill Maher didn't just take on the media. He aimed his flamethrower directly at woke Hollywood, calling out their latest stunt of performative nonsense. In a recent rant, Maher ripped into the decision not to cast actual dwarf actors in the upcoming Snow White remake, all in the name of avoiding outdated narratives. The irony? In their rush to virtue signal, Hollywood ended up hurting the very community they claimed to protect. Maher didn't hold back, highlighting the absurdity of an industry that already makes it nearly impossible for talented dwarf actors, like Peter Dinklage, to land regular roles, all while obsessing over the ideal of the 6-foot leading man. Rather than providing real opportunities for these skilled professionals, Hollywood chose to strip them of work, hoping to score points with the woke mob. Maher rightly called it insanity wrapped in a halo. His point was clear. Hollywood's attempt to appear righteous is actually cruel, hypocritical, and frankly, laughable. The whole thing is a theater of absurdity, and Maher is more than happy to pull back the curtain.
I'm not the leader of anything, except maybe a contingent of centrist-minded people who think there's got to be a better way of running this country than hating each other every minute. So, thank you. So meet up in person. Maybe it'll be different. Spoiler alert, it was. First good sign, before I left for the Capitol, I had my staff collect and print out this list of almost 60 different insulting epithets that the president has said about me. Things like stupid, dummy, lowlife dummy, sleazebag, sick, sad, stone cold crazy. Really a dumb guy, fired like a dog, his show is dead. There's 60. I brought this to the White House because I wanted him to sign it, which he did.
Bill Maher stuns the left. A White House visit that shakes up the political divide, believe it or not. Bill Maher found himself walking the halls of the White House, not as a critic, but as a guest. This came after he publicly defended some of President Trump's more common-sense governance strategies. Unsurprisingly, the backlash from his liberal peers and former allies was swift and harsh. But Maher, being Maher, didn't flinch. He's never been one to follow the party line, and he's certainly not about to start now. As for whether Maher has officially shifted to the MAGA camp, he's kept quiet, and that's likely how it will stay. Maher's too independent to fall into any label, let alone a partisan one. Still, if you've been following his tone, critiques, and his unapologetic shots at the left, it's hard not to notice a shift. So, what do you think? Is Bill Maher slowly drifting to the right, or is he just one of the last liberals who hasn't lost his mind? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We're eager to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.